Hello, and welcome again. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the difference between clustering and classification. In the previous video, we have discussed the difference between regression and classification, and today we are going to discuss about the difference between clustering and classification. Fine. So in this case, the very first thing we know that why we need to understand the difference between this, because there is a common confusion that both these tools are used for categorization. Fine. So we are dividing into different categories. So both of them are used for categorization into one or more classes based on their features. Fine. So they appear to be similar in the process, but basically there is a difference. Let's discuss that. The very first difference that comes to everybody's mind is that classification is a supervised learning, and whereas clustering is unsupervised learning, which means the data in this case of classification is labeled and unlabeled data is here when we talk of clustering. This is the common thing that everybody knows. And when we talk of classification, we can have binary classification and multiple classification. So like this is simply binary classification. And when we talk of multi classification, it's like this, in which we are having more than two classes. And now let's understand how the clustering look like. It's like this, classes of the certain groups of this, which are making different groups. So in this case, these instances are based on the class labels in classification, and the data is labeled. When we talk of clustering, it makes the groups based on similarity, and classification do the categorization based on the difference factor. Fine. So this can also be there. The need is there in both the cases for understanding classification and clustering. But in classification, training and testing dataset are needed for verifying the model created, and there is no need of training and testing the data in case of clustering. When we talk of their examples or the algorithms that are there, so in this case we have logistic regression, naive Bayes is there, support vector machines are there. And when we talk of clustering, we have k-means clustering is there, we have Gaussian clustering algorithm, and we have fuzzy means algorithm, and many others. So classification, on the other hand, we can also say it is more complex as compared to clustering, as there are many labels in the classification phase, where only grouping is done in clustering. Also, when we talk of clustering, we know that in which class we have to put. We know in advance how many classes are there, as we have labels to organize the classes. But in case of clustering, the algorithm tries to reform the different groups based on the similarity between them. So we can't say how many clusters are being formed and which element. Suppose there is an element that is at the initial stage belonging to one cluster, it may happen that in the next shift it may move to the next cluster. So that's all about the difference between clustering and classification. So I also suggest you, if you have not seen the video of this lecture, the difference between classification and regression, just go through that video once again, so that the common differences are clear to you. So thanks for watching the video.